Let's talk about something practical. When a person of determination tries to report an accessibility barrier, what usually happens is that an email gets sent, or a phone line rings, or a form gets submitted, and then silence. Halas. The issue might be real, the frustration is real, but the resolution, that's unclear. Not because the government doesn't care, because the government of the UAE absolutely does care. They deeply care about accessibility and they deeply care about inclusion. So it's not because the businesses don't care, because the businesses also care, but because the information is not structured. Right now, accessibility reporting is reactive, fragmented, invisible at scale. You cannot fix what you cannot see. It's simple. And you cannot measure what is scattered all over the place. That is where accessibility heat maps change everything. Accessibility data today, it lives in emails, in call logs, in inspection PDFs, in spreadsheets, and in individual complaints, in social media comments. There is no unified intelligence layer, no clustering, no district benchmarking, no severity ranking across time. If 10 people report the same broken ramp in 10 different ways, the system treats it like 10 separate emotional incidents. AI cannot read emotion. AI reads structure. Without structure, there is no optimization. And without optimization, there is no scalability. And that is the architecture gap. Let's talk about something simple. A sidewalk without a proper wheelchair cutout. On paper, the sidewalk exists. That's obvious. In reality, it's a barrier. Now multiply that across retail corridors, hotels, cities, public transport stops, tourism districts, business centers. People of determination rarely move alone. They move with companions. And if one person cannot access your location, you are not losing one transaction. You are losing group transactions. You are losing repeat visits. You are losing long-term brand trust. That is not theoretical. That is measurable revenue loss. But it remains invisible because the data is not structured. Accessibility is not only about commerce. It affects daily life. It affects community life. It affects spiritual life. I'm a Muslim. I'm in a Muslim country, and access to the masjid matters. As a person of determination, I attend the masjid as much as I possibly can. Some are very easy to access, some are not. Not because anyone intends exclusion, but because infrastructure details are inconsistent. When accessibility is not structured and visible, people do not always know which spaces they can enter, which spaces they can enter safely and independently. That uncertainty affects participation. Participation in business, participation in public life, and participation in worship. Accessibility intelligence removes uncertainty. Clarity restores dignity. PODAX converts lived experience into structured, geo-tagged infrastructure intelligence. Each contribution is validated. Each entry is categorized. Each issue is severity ranked. Each resolution is tracked. Our AI clusters patterns across districts, across emirates, across nations. It identifies systemic infrastructure weaknesses, commercial risk zones, and recurring implementation gaps. Heat maps show red, structural gaps, yellow, inconsistent performance, and green, verified accessibility readiness. But heat maps are not about exposing failure. They are about prioritizing improvements. Now let's clarify something important. PODAX is not designed to publicly shame any business that is not accessible. It does not create a wall of complaints. Instead, it verifies accessibility. SMEs, corporations, enterprises, and government facilities, when a location meets structured accessibility standards, it is verified. Verified locations appear visibly on the map for users who are filtering for accessible environments. If a location is not verified, it is simply not shown in that filter. We are not highlighting who failed. We are highlighting who is ready. Accessibility becomes competitive advantage. Verification becomes visibility. Visibility becomes marketing. Like digital verification builds trust online, accessibility verification builds trust in the physical world. For SMEs, that increases traffic. For hotels, that increases bookings. For retail, that increases group spending. For government facilities, that increases trust and participation. This is not punitive by any means. It is incident-driven improvements that lead to verification. Verification leads to visibility. Visibility leads to measurable economic impact. Accessibility becomes marketing infrastructure. Now let's talk about scale. Accessibility intelligence does not scale automatically. It requires structured participation. PODAX is not just an AI system. It is a civic intelligence network. People of determination can contribute, so can civic allies. Contributions are structured, verified, and recognized. We introduce a contribution framework that rewards meaningful engagement and verified impact. There are contribution milestones, achievement tiers, impact tracking, leaderboards, resolution-based recognition. This is not gamification for entertainment. This is incentive alignment. Contribution builds the data sets. The data sets strengthen the AI. AI strengthens the infrastructure intelligence. Infrastructure intelligence improves decision-making across nations. That is a civic intelligence flywheel. Corporate sponsors can align with measurable impact. Brands can support verification initiatives. Community engagement and enterprise sponsorships reinforce each other. Accessibility becomes collaborative infrastructure, not reactive infrastructure, not adversarial pressure. Structured participation restores agency. Instead of silence, halas, contributors see measurable progress. That changes behavior. That changes scale. Now let's talk about tourism and transport. If someone is traveling with a mobility device and they need clarity before arrival, what type of airport transfer is available? Is the vehicle compatible with their mobility device? Does the hotel provide proper access? Are the surrounding sidewalks navigable? Right now, that information is scattered. With structured accessibility intelligence, Transport providers can be verified. Hotels can be filterable. Districts can be benchmarked. Confidence increases. Confidence increases bookings. Bookings increase economic participation. Accessibility becomes tourism competitiveness. When accessibility is measurable, it moves from compliance to performance. Performance to benchmarking. Benchmarking to competitive advantage. If a city wants to host global events, accessibility readiness must be provable. Heat maps provide evidence. Data provides credibility. Credibility attracts investment. Accessibility becomes infrastructure maturity. Structured routing restores trust. Verified data is directed to the appropriate authority. Resolution timelines are visible. Status changes are trackable. People of determination gain visibility. Businesses gain performance insight. Governments gain intelligence. You cannot build the most accessible city in the world if you don't know what works and what does not work. Heat maps turn blind spots into data. Data turns uncertainty into action. And action turns intention into measurable inclusion. Because inclusion without structure is just intention. This is not just about awareness. It is about architecture.